Hello everyone, welcome to Cartoon Season. I'm Tyler, and today, just a laundry list of stuff. No, not really. So today I'm gonna be talking about The Bad Guys. Brand new movie came out this year, very recently actually. I think it even more recently came to streaming. But yeah, The Bad Guys from DreamWorks. Movie that I was looking forward to ever since it was announced because it has this nice style. It's 3D, but it takes a lot of 2D inspiration, you can tell, and I feel like that's like the next like pushing of animation is the melding of 2D and 3D. The most famous example is Into the Spider-Verse, but other ones do it as well, like Arcane, and Arcane was even being worked on before Spider-Verse. So anyway, we got The Bad Guys, and I think it shows. I definitely think it shows. So just a couple things I want to talk about. The bad guys becoming the good guys, which I know is basically the plot of the film, but I want to touch on some very like specific things, as well as like how this arc came to be, and then as well as I want to touch on some of the twists, because it had quite a few twists, and you can see them as kind of obvious, but I think they commit to them in a way that still makes them like exciting and like it adds to the story. So yeah, let's just start then. So bad guys becoming good guys, right? That's kind of the whole film. That's honestly what I did. I didn't know that. I don't know if that was actually told in the trailer of the film. I didn't know that's what was going to happen, that these guys were going to turn into good guys. So, because at the very beginning, you see that they're pretty successful at being bad guys. They have a whole like hideout, and it's just filled with money and art and artifacts, all that stuff. So they're pretty good at it, but they let their hubris get the better of them, and they attempt the big heist. The one that's taken out so many bad guys. They got to steal that like dolphin trophy, which is really weird because it's like, why is that so important? It's just a trophy, I'm sure there's some commentary on that, but I don't. Yeah. And the issue is that they've been bad guys their whole lives because that's what they felt they've been dealt, which plays into the theme of the movie. But you first see them break out of it when Wolf decides to save an old lady instead of steal from her, and he actually likes it. He gets that goodness tingle in him where he's like, oh man, this is something special, and it really hits him. It really affects him. You can see even later on in the scene, like he's kind of dazed and he's not super focused for like a good few minutes because he's never felt something like that before, and it's funny because that's just going to show that these guys have never done anything like that before. Again, they just felt like they're bad guys. Some people treated them as bad guys, so they all just accepted that. And they never really fought it too hard. They never fought that narrative. They just kind of rolled with the punches. And they've had a pretty good life up until this point. I mean, they're friends. They like each other. They're, like I said, they have a lot of stuff. They're pretty well off. I mean, if they just like became hermits for the rest of their life, I'm sure they'd be fine. But they've never really decided to do anything on their own. Which again, I think is part of the theme of this movie, where it's like, if you want something, you shouldn't let anyone else decide for you. And that's kind of what all of them have done their whole lives, is just let people decide that they're bad guys. But then Wolf has this one moment where he's good for a fraction of a second, and he's like, oh, I kind of like this more. I kind of like the feeling that this gives me. And then further on, we have the hitch, which is Marmalade teaching them to be good, which is alright, whatever, cool. But we again see Wolf save a cat, and again he gets that feeling, and he's like, man, this is good. This is what I want. Being a bad guy gives you a rush, I'm sure, and some satisfaction, right? But being a good guy, just like, it hits you to your core, and that's what Wolf is realizing other people haven't yet. And that kind of sucks, because since no one else has felt that yet, no one else is good at being good, because they've never purely done a good deed before. only Wolf has. He's done it on accident, but that was the kind of door that opened for him. The other people, all their doors are locked. We still got to find that moment that's the key, to help them on this path. And so, let's see, and then they go further and they try to do that guinea pig heist, which they 50% succeed, 50% fail. I mean, they do kind of free the guinea pigs, but they're not like somewhere safe. They just kind of run into the streets. So now the city's going to be infested with guinea pigs, the same way that like New York City is infested with rats. I'm assuming. And then on top of that, it doesn't look good. The optics of it, like how they save them, like half save them. It doesn't look good, right? They're not seen as heroes in this moment. They're just seen as people who are stumbling by, and I guess they did something good, but this is all about public perception. That's the whole point of this experiment, is that they have to seem good. They have to seem like they're reformed, because if they don't, then there's no point. We're just going to put them in jail. And so at the end, they decide to be like, okay, yeah, we're not actually going to be good guys. Like, we're going to be bad, but we're going to act like we're good. So they have this whole heist, and it goes pretty perfectly, honestly. Like, there are times where they have to improvise, but everything still works out, where they're dancing, they're singing, they're distracting, they're still getting the bad guy deeds off on the low. But it all rides on Wolf giving them the signal and basically performing the last leg of this plan, and he doesn't. He changes it last second. So up until this point, everyone else was still fine with being bad. That's just who they were, like, and they haven't had that feeling yet, really. And Wolf is the only one that's had it, and he changes. He's like, this isn't what we need to be. We can be good guys. Being good guys is actually way better than being a bad guy. None of us just ever have had the opportunity to realize that before. And that, that doesn't really work for them. But layers upon layers of this, they end up stealing the heart rock back from Marmalade, because Wolf is able to convince them that, good is more being bad. And in that moment, in the heist moment, like, I mean, I guess in hindsight, they realized that in that moment they were being good, and they were like, they enjoyed people looking at them and not shrinking away from fear or disgust, where they actually applaud them and are happy to see them. All of them felt it, and so that's why most of them, except for Snake, Snake is kind of a late bloomer when it comes to that, but everyone else is like, yeah, no, this is good. And then they decide to help, like I said, steal the heart rock back from Marmalade, because Marmalade is actually the bad guy. At the very end, I think, is something that I didn't expect them to do, and this is kind of dipping into the other topic where I'm going to talk about the twists, but them deciding to turn themselves in, I think, was very, very different. On top of that, the fact that they actually went to jail and served their sentence, I think, was also very bold, because a lot of other movies may have just been like, oh, we're going to turn ourselves in, and then the police force is just like, oh no, you know what, guys, you've proven yourselves, we know that you aren't bad anymore, you just outed Marmalade as a bad guy, you just brought back the heart rock that we were all waiting for. The proof is here that you guys are actually reformed. You guys don't have to go to jail. But this movie did it differently, and they're like, okay, no, because like even Wolf explains it, where he's like, even if you're gonna let this stuff slide, have the governor back us up and be like, oh no, they were actually bringing it back. We've done a lot of stuff. We've done a lot of bad stuff in the past however many years. So we still should go to jail and still take responsibility for that, for all the other crimes that we've committed prior to the one that we didn't commit today, but you thought we did. And that's awesome, and they end up getting released for good behavior. Even a small little detail like that, because good behavior is a thing that everyone knows about when you're in jail, and you can get released early or whatever. But it's more poignant in this film because of the word good. The word good is so, contradictory to who these people are supposed to be. So the fact that not only did they turn themselves in to claim responsibility for their past crimes, they got released for being good in jail. That's just awesome. They were able to lower their sentence because of that. So I think that whole arc of them being probably the most notorious current active bad guys in that city, to then the ending is them turning themselves in for those crimes that made them notorious and then getting let out on good behavior is just so good. It's something that other films have probably done before, but I feel like this one does it so well, in the way it's presented, and like the heart in the film of them coming together and, actually wanting to be good by the end of it. And there's no arguments with turning themselves in. Like, I don't know, I feel like they do it in such a clever way, both clever and heartwarming. And then on top of that, we go into the twists, right? The twists are some of the most special moments in this entire film. So obviously we have the big one, which is Marmalade planted the good seed into Wolf and the rest of the crew. We found out that he was the old lady. He was the one that kind of got that wheel turning in Wolf's head, to concoct this whole plan of taking them in and making them good and having them basically be his tools, and then we jump forward to the guinea pig heist. He didn't want to do that because he's a guinea pig and he, it's his brethren. He wanted to save them. No, he wanted to do that because he knew he could use them for mind control and have an army to, again, execute the biggest heist the world's ever seen, right? And then the third layer to that is that he used the Heart Rock for power. He was the one that stole the Heart Rock, even though he was the one back then that made that disastrous, disaster, even though he was able to turn it on its head and have the public see this as a good thing, or not really a good thing, but just not be, destroyed by it. Oh no, the meteor's in the shape of a heart. Now he's the one that's using that for his power to power his brainwashing army. It gets deep, with Marmalade, man. And then we also have we got a second twist here where Snake is the one that actually switched the Heart Rock with Marmalade's Heart Rock lamp, which was introduced earlier on in the film. They're making dumb jokes about how it looks like a butt. And it's an extra twist because up until that point, we thought for a second that Snake actually stayed bad. It's not an outlandish thing to think because he is a bad guy. So why wouldn't he team up with the other bad guy that's having this crazy scheme? Like we think we wouldn't do it because it's like, oh well, these are his friends. He would side with his friends. Like no, he's still trying to prove that he is evil deep down in his heart. So this is what he's got to do. But he didn't. Right after they had that little conversation, with the whole last push pop thing. He also felt the tingle. He was also realized it, and he was like, you know what? Nah, we're not gonna actually do this. So he devised his own little backup plan to mess with Marmalade and kind of, sabotage the whole thing. And then finally, another one that I thought was awesome was that we find out that the governor is actually the Crimson Paw. That's awesome. And again, once you realize that if you were to watch the film again, there are little moments earlier on in the film, like the first and second act really, where her being the Crimson Paw makes so much sense. How like she makes comments about how she knows what it's not that she knows what it's like to be bad, but she does kind of know that line of thinking. How she's able to steal the ring back from Wolf without Wolf realizing. Just like little moments like that. And then overall, with her having sympathy for the bad guys and like wanting crime off the street, sure, but then also, I guess it is just the sympathy where it's like she knows what that's like, to crave these dangerous things because she's done it herself, and she's herself has been reformed because of an epiphany that she had. So now with this case specifically, where they might be able to be reformed, she's rooting for them. And even when she says that, she tells Wolf that she's rooting for him. It could just be an offhand comment, but she really is, because she's been there before. So yeah, there's lots of twists. And again, I think you could look at them and say some of them are kind of cliche, or some of them are seen from a mile away. But I think all of them together, I think, still put enough spice into the story that, I don't know, it just makes it really good. And by the end of it, you're like, that was a fun movie. It was just flat out a fun movie. And I think sometimes that's all animated movies have to be. Not every anime movie has to like break new ground, or I don't know, like make you cry because the parents died or something. Sometimes they can just be a fun ride from front to back. And I think that's what this movie was. But yeah, that's pretty much it. So please let me know what you thought of the movie. If you like what this is maybe indicative of where DreamWorks is going from here on out. If you'd want to see a sequel, I think it'd be fun to see a sequel. Even if it was with different characters, maybe, or just in this world, I think it would be fun. And yeah, other than that, maybe go check out some other episodes of Cartoon Season. Links to find Cartoon Season podcast is everywhere in the description. Also, I do some reactions, some animation reactions, as well as some gameplays. Go check those out as well. And let me know what other movies or shows or whatever you want to see covered on here. And then yeah, until next time, just make sure to watch more cartoons, because cartoons deserve to be watched.